these labor law violations, on the one hand, it sounds like, well, many employers may be trying to cheat their employee. Is there much more to that, or is that, what would that be? Is that a misdemeanor? What is that? But that's a civil suit in this case.
It is a civil suit, but I think like the first civil suit that was filed by the Attorney General Cuomo, it's a precursor to a criminal investigation that we know is occurring out of the Southern District of New York, federally. Okay. And under federal law, there is a separate charge for theft or embezzlement of funds connected specifically with job training programs. So you have two specific statutes that I see federally that are underlying these civil suits that the Attorney General has brought, but that can be prosecuted federally as crimes, specifically the job training program, specifically fraud or theft of government funds.
Now, one of the things that's unusual, it's not unusual for the Attorney General to bring civil lawsuits. That's almost their stock in trade. It seemed odd that the first shoe to drop in this was a civil lawsuit rather than criminal charges relating to matters that we were just about to get into. Mm-hmm. What do you make of that, respectively, Edgar and then Roberto?
Well, I mean, the first sign or public airing of these issues was the civil lawsuit, but that doesn't necessarily mean that there was an investigation, let's say on a federal level, that predated that civil lawsuit, because the feds came right after that civil lawsuit.
The very next day, they appeared taking out a lot of potential evidence.
Exactly. I mean, the Senator Espada has alleged that politics are involved in these allegations, and I think that to a certain degree he's right, you know. The scuttlebug, let's say, in the community is that, you know, the Attorney General had to get his name out on this. He had to be seen as being proactive about the Espada situation and not doing anything. Had he not done anything, then what kind of an Attorney General is he?
And you think ultimately this is not going to be tried as a civil lawsuit? It's really just going to be that federal criminal case.
Well, you know, when you have a civil lawsuit and a criminal prosecution, we don't have a criminal prosecution yet, unless there's a sealed indictment out there that we're not aware of. Then it presents a problem. Let's say to the prosecution. And one of the problems is that if the Senator Espada is very aggressive about the civil lawsuit, then he can get discovery, he can force the Attorney General to divulge certain information. He can conduct depositions, you know, there are subpoenas, that kind of stuff, and get kind of a handle on perhaps the information that the government is going to use criminally, potentially against him, which is essentially the same information.
Okay. Roberto, do you see a political hand here?
I definitely see a political hand. I mean, if you look at the State Attorney General Cuomo's path, it seems, to Albany, it seems like it's a showing that he's going to be governor, and anything can happen in politics. But first, he basically uses Wall Street as one of his, one of the things he uses, obviously, to gain popularity is he goes after Wall Street. He goes after the student loan industry. He goes after Vantage, a big landlord that is basically evicting tenants or harassing tenants, and housing is a major issue throughout the state, throughout the city. And now he goes after the most unpopular politician in the state. After the coup, it seems everywhere you turn. I'd like to know what the numbers are as far as the name recognition State Senator Espada has throughout the state. So if you're going to run for governor, and if you want to come off as the champion of the people, who better than Pedro Espada? Okay,
we'll get more into that as we go along. This is part of the other charges here. This one is from the New York Codes, Rules, and Regulations that Espada allegedly violated. An employer shall pay for overtime at a wage rate of 1.5 times the employee's regular rate. An employee shall receive 1 hour's pay at the basic minimum hourly wage rate in addition to the minimum wage. And the basic minimum hourly wage rate and allowances is $7.25 per hour on and after July 24th, 2009. And that, of course, all relates to this alleged job training program that his son allegedly was the one who was pocketing the money from not paying these people. Now, this involved them creating a company that offered janitorial services and put his son, Pedro Gautier Espada, in charge of it. And then Gautier allegedly rigged the bids to make sure it won the Soundview contract, worth almost $400,000 annually. In 2008, Pedro Gautier, the son, earned more than $150,000 from the for-profit company and from Soundview. Well, does that add, is there anything that you would add to that based on these other informations?
What I would add is that Pedro Gautier has also been an elected official. So he fully understands the dynamics and how things work in Albany and in the city. He was also a city council member for a time. So what I would add is he, between State Senator Espada and the son, Pedro Gautier, that they understand the dynamics and how the wheels turn in Albany and in city politics.
Well, go ahead, Edgar.
Oh, well, I was just, again, I think that this is just a precursor to this federal charge involving job training program and the theft of funds. But the senator has said that these people were not being paid wages. This was a stipend that they received for training, which one of the members of the program actually said, I got no training. So that's going to be a problem, I think, going forward for Senator Espada. I think this case, this job training program, and the overall case, when you look at it, is a classic fraud case. And fraud is the kind of crime that you don't dig into because you'll get caught up in the little details. The senator, in his defense, is going to say, well, these were stipends. These were not wages. And look at this, each individual thing he wants you to look at. But to see the fraud, you have to step back and see the overall picture.